Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Tesla. It is time for another update, and on this chart we have finally managed to break above the previous wave B top in the red interpretation, which allows us to track with even higher reliability the white scenario. And while it is still technically possible for a wave B top to be reset and still work out within the red scenario, this is very distant in terms of probabilities from the white interpretation, in which we actually expect quite serious extensions within this larger movement to the upside, which we are tracking from a large time frame perspective in a couple of scenarios actually. So firstly, we have the orange interpretation, in which we have basically a double 1-2-1-2 setup, and in this case we would actually still need to form another wave 1 to the upside to be tracking an even larger wave 3 after this 1-2 setup is complete. Now honestly, the more it goes on, the less inclined I am to believe this scenario, because it would actually have very bullish implications for the long term. Within the orange interpretation, I would have probably preferred to follow through in the red scenario internally, where this would have been an ABC movement. We would have gotten a reset within a wave 2 in orange, and then we would have formed an actual wave 3 to the upside, since this movement, this internal pattern, cannot really be reliably tracked as a wave 3 itself, and actually not even reliably. It could be a wave 1 of a wave 3, but it cannot be the wave 3 itself. I would not be expecting to start a wave 3 at any point. Now I wouldn't even be tracking this as a series of 1-2 setups that would have allowed a wave 3 to be forming. Which takes me to the green interpretation, which probably is a lot more based on the reality, and it would be tracking basically a series of 1-2 setups in this area, and then this would be an internal wave 3 to the upside, a fourth wave down, and a fifth wave that would be unfolding right now. And within this wave 5, we would basically be tracking an ending diagonal, within which we still expect to form this pattern in the white interpretation, a 5-wave move to the upside, but the internal movements within these waves are A, B, C structures all throughout this pattern to the upside, And in this case, we would still expect, even after the fifth wave completion, continuation in this larger trend to the upside, but we would be looking for a more significant wave 4 that, honestly could easily go even, for example, all the way down to the bottom of this area. If we actually look for an estimated area of support for the wave 5, or sorry, for the wave 4, after the wave 5 is complete, we would, let's assume that we form a top, let's say the $700 level. We would be looking here at the 50% retracement to be the last level of support, the $92 level. But this is all speculative, because I actually expect to push still higher, even beyond those prices within this fifth wave, based on the current structure that is available internally. Now, we won't even go once again through the red scenario. We are focusing here on the white interpretation, where we are in the wave C of the larger wave 3. And as always, we are tracking to build a 5-wave move in a wave C. In the wave C is always a 5-wave structure, even though the wave C itself can be a diagonal pattern. And while it is an interpretation we are tracking right now, I am exploring the options of this being an impulse even, and I would be tracking here an initial 1-2 setup, and then within the idea of an impulse, which we are tracking in the white scenario, I'm looking here internally for a double 1-2-1-2 setup, then a third wave that now seems to be towards the end of its structure. Within this wave 3, we are tracking an impulse to the upside, and we are now in the later stages of the fifth wave itself. And then we do still have available, and we do even need to keep in mind this blue interpretation, within which we would actually be tracking a diagonal pattern within this wave C in white, and we would have an A wave complete, a B wave complete, and we would be in the C wave to the upside. Now, this would be mostly determined based on the internal structure that is developing within this area, and it might be rather difficult than not to determine exactly which pattern is going to play out, but at the moment I am still focusing on the white interpretation. Now, in both scenarios, we are looking for continued upside within this area, also in both of them within a larger wave 3, and the structures may differ. We may get some hints in terms of which pattern really is unfolding within this area, but unfortunately we will not likely have a reliable way to determine what pattern really is playing out, because even within wave 5s that are expected to occur all throughout the rest of this wave 3, we could be forming diagonal structures, we could be forming yeah, even a larger wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that could be as part of a diagonal structure. Patterns that could realistically also occur within the wave C, and in the wave C we are also expecting a 5-wave move to the upside as we are in this 5th wave in white. And sure, in the white scenario we would expect this 5th wave to form a top in the near term, but then we would expect another correction in wave 4 and then another 5th wave, and then once again this cycle to complete the large wave 3. But for the general idea, yes, we are still looking for higher prices. We have been looking for higher prices, especially ever since we have broken here above the resistance levels in red, and we had formed here this potential impulse to the upside within a wave 3. But yeah, for now, let's focus here internally on this 5th wave to the upside. And in the previous video, we have been looking here for a couple of scenarios. Now, we had an overlapping area of support, but we were tracking both of them because the yellow interpretation was allowing us to look for a potential impulse to the upside. And while this yellow interpretation within an impulse is still technically possible, it is a rather unlikely scenario to me, because this would actually require us to be tracking a double overshoot within this area. You know, this would need to be something like an ABC movement or an something ABC. Honestly, in no way does it really look good, and it is a rather unlikely interpretation for me to be tracking this yellow interpretation at this time. Yeah, we have delivered in terms of extensions. We have quite a nice movement to the upside that has formed from these areas of support, where basically we pushed here perfectly into the 61.8% retracement, the golden ratio, which goes along to prove that yes, we should always focus on the levels, not the count, because honestly, within counts, within scenarios, it is very, very often that we get these overlapping areas. Even if I came up with other interpretations, I could have come up with very similar areas of support that would have been heavily overlapping, and which is why, yeah, we are focusing on the levels, because as long as the counts can be valid, can be a reliable interpretation, they do tend to overlap. So now I wouldn't necessarily consider the white interpretation either, because yeah, within the white scenario I would have expected a more moderate push here in the 5th wave, and while technically it could work out, I could consider this an ABC movement to the upside, I probably have a new scenario that might fit even better than all these previous ones. And actually we will keep here the white, because yeah, it will allow me to track the pattern more reliably, or drag the structure to be tracking the pattern more reliably, where right now I would probably prefer to be tracking a wave 1 up as part of a larger ending diagonal, a wave 2 down, and then here an ABC structure within the wave 3, where in this wave 3, in the wave C more specifically, I would actually still like to see an extension higher. I would still like to see another high within this 5th wave internally, and I suppose we could even add some labels for this idea. And again, a wave C, as I always tell you, must be a 5-wave structure. Now, within my interpretation, I am tracking a diagonal pattern within this movement to the upside in the wave C. And in that case, I would be watching out here internally for an area of support that would allow me to still track continuation higher. The levels between the $481.8 all the way down to the $460.7 level, where so far, with the initial correction to the downside, we have pushed perfectly into the 50% retracement, and while we may have formed the bottom, I do not require it to be done. I could allow this correction easily to extend even with this within this wave 4. Yeah, sure, technically this could be an ABC structure considered complete, and we could be in an ABC structure to the upside, where realistically after one more high we could consider the large wave 3 to be complete. Now I also want to change the degree here, and then realistically I do have a backup scenario, because it is a very small time frame and I would need to be able to allow this structure to already be in place, to already be complete. And yeah, at least this wave 3 I would still expect after a correction in wave 4 extensions higher, because I would like to see a 5-wave structure, although as I mentioned on the larger time frame this is not absolutely necessary. But if we fail to hold here the 61.8% retracement, we do need to also allow the possibility of a wave 3 completion and a larger correction within the wave 4, in which case we would still once again be looking at a diagonal pattern, and I would be looking for support all the way down to the $438 level. I removed here internally the 23.6% retracement, but honestly it is not because it is not valid, because it cannot work out. It is just not to overlap too much with the smaller time frame interpretation that allows a more direct breakout. And yeah, honestly, now that I'm thinking, I would probably prefer to be tracking this internal extension within a wave 3 in a yellow interpretation to allow a more clear distinction within scenarios. So in white, we are considering a possible top within the wave 3, a correction in the wave 4, for which the area of support starts at a $472 level and extends all the way down to the $438 level. For the yellow interpretation, we can allow one more high where the area of support extends all the way down to the $460.7 level. And then if we want to be tracking here internally resistance levels for a potential either extension within the yellow or the white scenario, honestly both of them work fine, I would be watching out here the levels between, and let's be tracking this in, honestly we don't even have another color, let's say sure, purple. Oh, it is way too unclear. I suppose let's use pink. Sure, this works out. And here we would be watching the levels between the $477 all the way up to the $489 level, where yeah, basically we have managed to break here a bit with a few wicks, the 78.6% retracement, but we have gotten rejected. Now, if we want to extend higher, we don't need to form an initial 5-way move to the upside within this area. This again needs to only be an ABC structure. And while I could internally track a potential area of support for a wave 4, I won't be leaving that on the chart. Yeah, honestly, this seems to be a diagonal pattern itself, so we would be watching out here the levels all the way down to the 61.8% retracement, the $476 level for the wave 4 correction, but I would be more focused on a potential ABC movement that would allow a correction all the way down to the 78.6% retracement of this entire structure. In that case, I would need to shift it slightly lower, but yeah, let's track this in yellow. So yeah, this would be for the idea where the fifth wave would already be ongoing, where again, in the pink interpretation, we can allow a reset within the wave 4. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover. And I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.